It's more important to be a seeker than to say I found a master. Because you can find a master who has gone only a short way inside. And there's no way he'll call that short destination as Sachkhand. How do you know there is Sachkhand? He may call the very astral stage as Sachkhand. When you go to astral stage, it looks like Sachkhand. It looks so wonderful compared to this physical world, and you see that everything has been created from there. It's a reflection from the astral plane. Everything that is here is also there in its pure form. When you see all those things, you feel that is Sachkhand. So a master who calls it Sachkhand convinces you it's Sachkhand. So you can't know. When I was describing this in one of my talks, a guy saw me on YouTube and saw me saying this. Then he wrote to me, very nice email. He said, you say that a master can mistake any level as Sachkhand, and so can the disciples mistake. How do you know that you have not mistaken that place which you call Sachkhand? Sachkhand may be beyond that. And you may be confused. How do you know you are calling the astral plane as Sachkhand? You're calling something very narrow as Sachkhand. Is there any way to find out that you are really moving up? So I have to say that it's quite possible that there's another Sachkhand beyond what I know. I would love to see it too. But I know that the Sachkhand I talk of is the one from where you know the whole of creation and all levels. If there's one beyond all levels, I'd like to know that too. And I'm open for it. But somebody has to come and show me that. I'm ready for it. If somebody can show me more, I'd like to see. But one thing I can tell you, one very strong evidence that you are at a higher level is the change in the nature of time. And this is very significant. In the physical plane, time flows in one direction only. In the physical plane, you have the past, present and future. You don't go back to the past ever. You're always running toward the future. So, since time is flowing only forward, you can't even stop it. Nobody can say, I like this scene, let me stop it for 5 minutes. You can't do it. The physical time does not permit that. No matter how competent you are, how advanced you are. The moment you step into the astral time, you can stop it. People have stopped it. You like a particular scene, you can stop it. But still, time still moves in the same direction. We used to play a little game as kids called freeze. So when all the kids were there, freeze, and everybody stood exactly where they were. So for us, time stopped. But that was not real stopping of time, but in astral plane is real stopping of time. So there's a very big difference from the time flow here and the nature of time that we experience in the astral plane. In the causal plane, time is merely laid out on which you can travel both ways. You can go to the past wherever you like, you can go to the future wherever you like, and you realize that time never moves, that time is static. Time is static here too, but we think it moves because we move on time. People say the Greeks, the Egyptians were very clever. They knew how to time travel. Little realizing we're all time traveling right now. We're traveling on time. An event is already there ahead of us. We move toward the event, we say, oh, the time has moved. Time never moves. Time never moves anywhere. But the experience of time flowing changes from one level to another. So when you reach the causal plane, that's the first time you realize that time is a fixed thing. It's as fixed as space. Space doesn't move. Space is there. If I want to go from here to Chicago, I know Chicago is there, I am here. It's a special distance, and I'll take the distance and go there. It's identical with time. I know 2014 is there, and I am in 2000, I can go 2014. I travel, not the time. Time does not move. But this is only experienced personally when you reach the causal plane. So there's such a big distinction in the nature of time that you can at least, with these indications, find out where you are. That's a very big distinction. If you go above the causal plane to Par Brahm, then you still have time, but you can't describe it because it's not spread out. Time in the causal plane and all planes below is spread out into infinity. Right here there's infinite time. What is the meaning of infinity? People say, what is infinity? You know what infinity means? Keep going and you can go further. But when you stop going, that's infinity. If you can't go any more, that's infinity for you. But if you can go, go further. When you can't go, it's infinity. You can't have another definition of infinity. It's infinite, but I can't see where it is. Oh, then don't talk about it. If you don't know where infinity is, but if you know that infinity means the ability to go as far as you like. Keep going, keep going. You can't go any more, that's infinity. And if you can't even think about anything further, that's infinity. How big is space? Infinite. How much infinity is it? As far as you can go. You can go to billions of galaxies and see them at the end of space. That's infinite. If you go more, that's infinity. Infinity in practical terms is a practical experience of how far you can spread out. So what has happened is that the time, which is, by the way, time is kal. Time is the negative power we are talking of. Time is the real trap in which you are trapped. So therefore it's important to study the nature of time. If time is flat and already laid out and is infinite, you can travel upon it either way as far as you can go. This experience only takes place in the causal plane. But once you see the nature of time in the causal plane, you are sure of the nature of time in the astral plane and the physical plane. You can be back here, you know time is not flowing. We are flowing on the time. You're time traveling right now. You travel, but here you travel at a fixed pace. It looks like fixed pace. But there's a secret in that too. There is an objective time and a subjective time. The objective time is being set up by your watches and clocks. And the subjective time is how we feel, how much time has passed. Especially meditation is a good way to start out finding out what is the difference between objective time and subjective time, where you try to meditate and you think 1 hour has passed and you find only 10 minutes have passed on the clock. But which one do you believe? You believe the clock. You believe the watch. You don't believe your experience. We are so much tied down to something external to ourselves. Here we are experiencing that we've been sitting for an hour. But this watch says 10 minutes, we have to accept 10 minutes and not by hour that are experienced. If you're in good company and we are chatting away, having coffee with friends, and 2 hours pass, oh, 2 hours have passed, we thought it's only half an hour. We experienced half an hour, and 2 hours passed on the watch. Oh, 2 hours, yes. The clocks and watches are determining our time and not our subjective time. The truth is, as you'll find out if you go to causal plane, subjective time is the only time you're experiencing. These watches set according to your subjective time. That means the watch will reset to what it makes you believe. So the belief in the nature of time in the physical plane is making us rely upon calendars and times. So you see, these are just devices to keep us held back here. All this time is holding us back in a way nothing else can. This negative power called time is holding us back by relying on watches and clocks and not our own experience, sitting here. How could we get into that? But we have got into it. We have got into it scientifically, empirically, objectively. So you can imagine what this kind of creation can do to us. But the nature of time is itself very confusing, because even in the physical plane, the time that we talk of is only past, present and future. And sometimes I give this example to mathematicians. Please examine the nature of time. Where do you live? Do you live in the past? Do you live in the present? Or do you live in the future? Has anybody lived in the past? It's gone. At any time you are living in the now, which is present. Nobody I know of has ever lived in any other time frame except now. Now is the only point at which you live. And think of it, before I said now it was past, and when I said now before I said now it was future, after I said now it's the past. What is the duration of a present? Do you know how much now is? Now is not even a nanosecond. Now is 0 second. Can you believe we are all living in 0 second? And we think time is flowing? How can time, this negative power, affect us to such a degree that knowing we are living in 0 second, we think we are living in all time? Oh, I was living now in the present. The reason is we are misleading ourselves by calling the immediate past as present. The immediate, I am just speaking to you, well, that was just the past. I'd call it present. So I am misnaming now as time frame, and it's not a time frame at all. If we are living in 0 time, even in the physical plane, then how come this past comes up and future comes up and present comes up? The reason is that what has already happened, it might have happened and passed through 0 time. It has happened. We can measure the time in the past. We can measure this happened 1 hour ago, this happened 2 hours ago, this happened a month ago. We have a measurement of the past. Zero is only now. We can also measure the future. What will happen 1 hour later, what will happen tomorrow, what will happen day after. We can theoretically measure a future. We can practically measure the past. Therefore, what it looks like is past is real because we can remember it. It's memory. Nobody can know the past except through memory. Is there any other method available to consciousness to know what has passed? The only device given to us, the only instrument to know the past is memory. We can recall what happened. We can recall what happened a second ago. We can recall what happened. And very often we can't recall what happened long ago. But recall or using the memory is the only way to know the past. Okay, then there is the future. Now let us see what the future is like. If you look at past, it is only memory. You are recalling from memory. If you look at the present, it has no time. But we make it look like time, present time, because of immediate past. So present is immediate past. Past is past. What about future? Supposing you had 3 words omitted from your dictionary: hope, fear, anticipation. These are the same actually, they are all anticipation. Hope is positive anticipation, fear is negative anticipation, anticipation, neutral anticipation. If we don't have these, there is no future. Have you ever thought of it? Future comes only by this activity. There is no future if you cannot hope, fear, or anticipate. It's the function of mind to do these things in time, that means in the past, to create the future. Hope takes time and therefore moves backward to the past. Fear takes time, moves to the past. Everything is past. What we call future is the past. Past is past, present is past, future is past. If everything is past, and the only way our consciousness can pick up experience here is through memory, that means we are recalling something. We are not making up anything. We are recalling. It's a replay. It's obviously replay of something already recorded, which we are recalling and playing out now. This exact knowledge that this is actually happening comes to everyone who goes to the causal plane. You see the nature of time there, how it's being created and how we experience it here. And yet we take it like time is real and we have a real past, present and future. We make plans, do all that without realizing you cannot do it except in the past and except through memory. Therefore it has to be done somewhere else earlier. You can only recall it. If you know that, it is at that point you discover in your spiritual practice that all you were experiencing here was a replay of something already written up, played out earlier. Memory cannot be created except what happened earlier. And then you remember it and recall it. So therefore, the nature of time is very strange. In the astral plane, it's very simple. You just halt the time when you like. In the causal plane is the best experience of time. when you find all events, past, present and future, had already been placed at one go. In one go, all events had been placed, and as we moved upon them, we experienced them in the physical plane, we experience them in the astral plane, and we can experience them either way in the causal plane. You can travel to any event you like in the causal plane of your own life or anybody's life. Now that opens up a very wide area of experience, much wider than this entire universe we are calling our universe. So this nature of time is so important to understand and gives you a clear indication at which level you are. So nobody can be fooled, oh, this is my Sachkhand, I'm going to heaven and therefore it's my Sachkhand. Sachkhand is beyond that. Now what about beyond that? Let's examine what happens beyond that. In Parbrahm, what happens to time? Parbrahm is the birthplace of time. In Parbrahm, you will find that the entire time, events of time, which had been spread out like that, have collapsed into one single point. And it is from there that it has been opened up and created past, present and future and all the events on this timeline. That the time is still there, but you can call it zero time containing the entire time that will be created. That's Parbrahm experience. Go there and see how time can be condensed, space can be condensed into zero. Now, mind cannot understand it. The mind, our human mind, does not function beyond time and space as we know it here. A thought takes time. Understanding takes time. Every function of the human mind takes time. How can it understand what's happening in a timeless state?